the southeast, but cooler with that showery rain across the southwest. Bye for now.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News travel.
Good evening, I'm Johnny Ratner. There are long delays in West Yorkshire on the M1 northbound. Only the two outside lanes on that 5-lane stretch of the motorway are open from junction 41 to 42 towards the M62 north of Wakefield at the scene of an accident. Heading south down the M6 in Cheshire. Now the slip road from the Knutsford services is currently closed. A car and a lorry have collided. This is just, of course, south of junction 19. And in West London at Fulham, the New King's Road is shut for a police investigation, causing long queues on surrounding routes, particularly through Chelsea. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's the final week to see how you can spruce up your spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not one, but two sought-after designer watches. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dewbs & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's 6 o'clock. I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is Dewbs & Co. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about awful April today, but you know what? The sunshine has been out, and that does indeed make us all feel a bit brighter, doesn't it? I do accept that when it comes to bills, today is also the day of things getting tighter, but you know what, guys? Worry not, we will get through it all together. Something that caught my eye today, the government has been taken to court over their changes to private school fees. Whose side are you on? And when it comes to US tariffs potentially hitting us here in the UK, there's been a warning that there may be no free trade within the UK without free speech in the UK. Let's look at that. And we speak a lot, don't we, about the breakdown of law and order on this show. So I was so happy today, ladies and gents, when I saw police footage showing some wrong-uns getting exactly what they deserved. I'll show you that. And speaking about things getting brighter, look at my panel tonight, ladies and gents. What a cracking pair. I've got Baroness Jacqueline Foster, the Tory peer, and former MEP, and Matthew Torbett, the former Labour advisor. But before we get stuck in, let's cross live and give you your 6 o'clock news headlines.
Michelle, thank you. The top stories: millions of households across the country will see their energy bills increasing today, from energy and water prices to council tax and stamp duty. The 7 hikes in prices and tax coincide with the new financial year in what's being dubbed Awful April for consumers. Water bills are increasing by an average of £10 a month in England and Wales, while gas and electricity are up by £111 a year. Meanwhile, the basic salary for members of Parliament has increased by 2.8%. The Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority previously said the rise should reflect government plans for workers such as teachers and NHS staff. That Solicitor Keir Starmer visited the City of London this morning as the annual increases to the National Living Wage and National Minimum Wage take effect today. Kemi Badenoch criticised the rise in employers' national insurance contributions, calling it a jobs tax that will hit employment. During a press conference this morning with the Shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer, Mel Stride, the Tory party leader also said the cost of living is already unbearable. The Chancellor increased the national insurance for employers in her budget last year, which comes into force on the 6th of April. Employers' national insurance contributions will increase from 13.8% to 15%. The White House says the US is open to taking calls on tariffs, as it said the tariffs announcement will be one of the most important days in US history. That's as the Foreign Secretary David Lammy earlier said the UK must prepare for the worst, as President Trump is set to introduce an array of tariffs tomorrow. Downing Street says the UK is at an advanced stage in talks with the US, adding that good progress has been made and all options are on the table. President Trump said last night he is settled on a tariff plan and says the US will be nice. His tariffs include a 25% tariff on all cars imports that will be announced on his so-called Liberation Day tomorrow and will come into effect immediately. And plans for new sentencing guidelines for offenders from ethnic minorities have now been delayed after the government announced draft legislation to block the changes. The Independent Sentencing Council insisted the new instructions were necessary and appropriate, but would not be implemented while the introduction of a bill was imminent. Ministers had promised legislation to overturn the guidance and have not ruled out ultimately scrapping the council after it initially ignored requests from the Justice Secretary to change course. Those new guidelines issued by the Sentencing Council says judges should get a pre-sentence report before sentencing someone of an ethnic, cultural or faith minority, alongside other groups such as those aged 18 to 25, women and pregnant women. That guidance had been due to come into effect today, but Shabana Mahmood announced she would introduce a draft law to the Commons aimed at blocking the guidelines on the same date. Those are the latest headlines for now. More news from me in an hour.
Thank you very much for that. My name's Michelle Dewberry. This is Dewbs & Co with you until 7 o'clock tonight. It's April Fool's Day today, and I spent all day thinking to myself of hilarious things that I could trick you all with today. But you know what I thought to myself? I just abandoned it all because I thought this world is getting so ridiculous that whatever I actually dreamt up, it would probably be, you'd all be sitting there thinking it'd be true. And actually, when you look at some of the absurd things going on, I wouldn't blame you for thinking that. So I realised it was all a waste of time, so we'll crack on as usual. Baroness Jacqueline Foster alongside me, the Tory peer and the former MEP. My mum's favourite as well. You are. No offence to great taste. No offence to you, Matthew Torbett, who's the former Labour advisor. But every time you're on, my mum always says to me, "Oh, we do like that Baroness. We do like her." So there you go. I could just change your title, couldn't I?
Well, well, first of all, I think your mother's got great taste.
She has.
Thank you very much.
She has.
Michelle's mum.
Yeah, she has. She's got great taste.
We should meet sometime.
Yes, well, there you go. Anyway, have you been caught up in any April foolery today?
Yes, I got caught out with one this morning.
Why? What was it?
I should probably name and shame them. I won't.
Yeah,
but there
do
was,
it. No, just do it.
No, I'm in a...
Oh, go on.
I occasionally turn out for the Labour staff football team, and they put in the sort of group WhatsApp chat this morning that through some contacts of people in the party, we'd managed to organise a game at Labour conference, which is normally what happens. And because this year we'd be back at Liverpool, we were going to play at Everton's brand new stadium. Right, and also there was going to be some famous faces turning out. And this is sort of not out of the ordinary necessarily. I thought, oh, this is brilliant, I can't wait, I'm going to tell my dad. A couple of hours later, they told me it was an April Fool's. I was absolutely gutted. So that's all of you watching or not watching. I'll be telling you off when I see you.
Oh, well, there you go. Have you been caught out?
Not really.
I haven't either. The only thing I saw that actually someone I know is a very good entrepreneur, and he sent something out saying he was going to set up the Entrepreneurs Political Party, and I thought, oh, that sounds quite interesting. And that was, of course, not quite right, was it? Someone told me Nigel Farage has been getting a tattoo. I've not looked into the details.
April Fools.
Was that an April Fools?
It was a sort of transfer one. It wasn't an actual tattoo.
But there was actually a good tweet from the Free Speech Union.
Oh, I saw that.
And when you started to read it, you thought, oh, good God. And he turned around and said, you know, we're going to leave X, Twitter, because of all these reasons why they're going, you know, because there's no free speech and we haven't been piled onto and all of this. And as you read through it, it was brilliantly done, actually.
It was very good, actually.
It was very, very brilliant.
I recommend that one. Well, anyway, look, hello, everybody. Join the conversation with us all the usual ways. Email me, gbviews@gbnews.com. Go to the website, gbnews.com/yoursay. Of course, you can tweet or you can X me. There's lots we need to discuss tonight, ladies and gents. I've been hearing everything today, awful April this and awful April that. I don't know about where you are, but the sun's shining. There's still a lot of good things going on in this world, isn't there? One thing that caught my eye today as well, I don't know if you've seen it, Rupert Lowe, the now independent MP, he is doing a crowdfunder, actually, for an investigation into the rape gang inquiry. And it stopped me in my tracks, you know. Almost £425,000 has been raised for that. And to me, you know, that just shows the sense of feeling out there among people. They want justice for the girls that have been affected by this, the thousands and thousands of girls. They feel very strongly about that, and they feel very disgruntled, actually. They don't feel that justice has been done, and it's been really good, I feel anyway, to watch people come together and try and facilitate an inquiry. What do you think?
Well, I completely agree with you, and we shouldn't have to be in a position where Rupert Lowe or anybody individually is trying to basically crowdfund to do something like this. We called very strongly, and a lot of the population will agree, I think, from across the piece politically, for the government to have a proper public inquiry into this. And all as they did, because they want inquiries into everything, and they have done for the last 9 months. But when we came to this, where not one person, whether it's in local authorities or whether it's in the care sector or whether it's in the police, nobody has been actually charged or held responsible for any of the injustices that were done to these girls.
It's not on, is it?
And no, it's not. What Yvette Cooper said, oh, well, we'll have 4 little mini sort of further inquiries, and that's not acceptable because we don't even know if people can give evidence. So the fact he's done this, good, but he shouldn't have had to do it. And Kemi Badenoch, to be fair, we've been really raising and pushing this to get there should be a full national inquiry into this. This was so big and so massive and has gone on for so long that I think nothing less, the public would agree with nothing less.
Matthew?
Yeah, no, I called for a national inquiry at the time when this reared its head and the light was shone upon it. I think my concerns would be, though, what legal remit it would have in the same way a sort of government-led public inquiry would ask of people to come and sit in front of it. I don't know whether they would have the same legal remit to do so, who would oversee it. I think, I don't know the details of it, maybe he's mentioned that, but...
Oh, yeah, there's I mean, it's not light on detail,
okay,
so you can, if anyone's got a bit of spare time on the hands, you can look at all that, because it's all broken down into all of the various different stages and so on. Do you know what I think about all of this? I always think it's because it was working-class girls and the common ethnicity of the perpetrators that were often involved in this. If you kind of reverse that on its head and you reverse the kind of ethnicity of the victims and the class, perhaps, of the victims, I think it would have had so much more attention. I really do. Anyway, look, get your thoughts on that one coming in. But let's address, shall we, the elephant in the room, so-called awful April. We all know by now that so many bills are going up. You name it. I mean, it's quicker just to say pretty much everything rather than listing the depressing list of things that are increasingly getting more and more expensive. Where are you on this? Are we going to be turning a corner anytime soon, do you think?
No, I don't. And even the forecasters of, you know, this Labour government's remit, well, they keep telling us how they're focused on growth. Everything that they have done, from the details of the budget to even latterly the spring statement where they could have actually adjusted certain things that they were going to do, has basically hit every household pretty well in the country. So it's not their fuel bills going up, and at least when we were in government and we were hit with what happened with Ukraine and that war, we did spend 2 years and we spent over 70 billion trying to at least help the householders to get through all of that. You know, we're another couple of years down the line and these gas and electricity bills are still increasing. We're paying a huge amount in green taxation on those. And I don't know whether the companies are not passing on any reductions to us as the customers either. So it's not only that, as you've said, there's water bills, TV licences. Apparently now they're going to tax the electric cars, which were exempt for a long time. But the biggie that's also now come in now, and you've just got it, is your council tax bill. I mean, I'm in the constituency of Birkenhead, and my council tax bill's gone up, you know, 500 quid. 500 quid. And I don't exactly live in a mansion. I think it's a reasonably standard-sized house, and that's a Labour council, so we can expect nothing less. So
could be worse.
The government have said that everybody's going to be £500 better off by 2030 or 2029, which means everybody can look forward to being 10 quid a week better off after another 4 years or 4.5 years of this Labour government.
Well, it could be worse.
I mean, it is an April Fool joke, this whole thing, and so are they. You
could be in Birmingham. Is there anyone watching that's in Birmingham? Goodness gracious me, you talk about council tax. I think yours has gone up about 7.5%, hasn't it? And I mean, we've all seen the footage there. At this rate, you're going to have rats walking the bin bags to the rubbish dump. It's absolutely appalling. Absolutely appalling what's going on there. Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, Birmingham was in a right old mess, and actually I remember working there for a Labour MP 2018. It was going on then. The council don't seem to have got ahead of the bin men strikes, and it was just as bad then, to be honest with you. I think to try and bring a little bit of positivity.
Yes,
I've been whacking. I have been whacking the government a fair bit, really, and I always try and be fair. I think it's good news that the national minimum wage is going up, maybe not necessarily for businesses, and I think the issue that Rachel Reeves the card that she played wrong is hitting businesses with a double whammy. It's all well and good putting the national minimum wage up, which certain businesses might struggle with, but to hit them with the NICS rise as well, which wasn't in the manifesto, has proved to be actually inflationary as well as economically unsound. Because I think the other thing she didn't quite understand is 1 in 4 jobs in this country are public sector. Was it 1 in 5? So for 20% of jobs, the government are paying increased NICS as well. Didn't seem to make any sense. Is there going to be any change anytime soon? No, I don't think so. And I think, unfortunately, sorry to the viewers at home, I think Labour aren't blessed with time. And as someone that isn't a Labour Party apparatchik, the reason local authorities, a big reason why local authorities are in such a state, is because Jacqueline's party spent the best part of nearly 2 decades cutting local authority by half.
No.
So if you've got an older population and social care going through the roof, an increase in disability and SEND provision, and you've cut everything in half, you've got more to deal with and less money coming in. So I'm not surprised they've reached for council tax levers, but it's not going to make anybody any popular.
Come off it. I mean, when you see some of what's gone on in these council taxes, while I don't deny that things have been cut and all the rest of it, some of these councillors, I mean, they are pathetic individuals that seem to think they are some kind of born-again Alan Sugars. They have gambled, I would say, literally in some cases gambled. They would call it some kind of entrepreneurial speculation. I would be furious if I lived in some of these districts in terms of what they have. I nearly used a word that I can't use there. What they have spent some of that council tax on. It's absolutely appalling. But a quick response to you: is it all your fault?
No, I mean, the thing is, you know, before COVID, let's just say before COVID, I mean, things weren't stretched that much. We spent $500 billion on COVID, by the way, and that's without then the extra billions on trying to, help with the energy costs. But councils don't have all of their funds coming from central government. They are responsible for the business. You know, they'll get money from business rates and council tax, and it is their duty to then spend that money properly. What is key is that what you will see is, if you were living in London, for example, Wandsworth and Westminster, for example, which were Tory-controlled for decades, have had very good, efficient council tax, and these areas aren't all wealthy. So, no, I think it's inefficient councils, and I think, you know, some of these councils have invested in all sorts of companies and businesses, and the next thing, you know, they've lost millions, and it's all council taxpayers' money.
Kay has got in touch. She said, Michelle, I'm a pensioner and I'm absolutely devastated by these awful April rises. She said, sure, my pension might have gone up by about 4.2%, but my council tax is up by 4.99%. I'm already in the minus before all the other price rises. She said, the only thing I can say is I just feel so sad. And I know, I understand, and that's why I wish there's something that I could do, wave a wand or something to make it all better. I can't, and I know that many of you are really, really struggling and really anxious at the moment. All I can say to you is we're here, we're GB News, we'll get through it, we'll muddle through it somehow together. Do get your thoughts coming in. If you are in Birmingham as well, how do you feel about some of the goings on there? Get in touch all the usual ways after the break. There's been essentially the Treasury taken to court, which commenced today. This is all about the changes to the VAT on private school fees. Whose side on this one are you on?
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Paul, I have to say, good on you for joining us tonight. Did you know that we were going to give you such a hard time?
Well, it's certainly provoked some discussion, and the purpose, actually, of the naming of the streets was to recognise the significant medical pioneers that worked at that hospital over 100 years and often contributed to medical innovations that reduced the fact that we, no longer have infectious diseases so widespread in our population. So my original idea was actually to try and save the buildings and the amazing architecture of the hospital. Unfortunately, it was demolished despite my efforts. So when the new housing estate was being built, the idea turned to how to name those streets. My original idea was actually to name the streets after the medical pioneers and the researchers that worked at the hospital. But unfortunately, the Glasgow City Council came back and said that after recent controversies with naming conventions, after people who have turned out to be controversial, they no longer name streets after people alive or dead. So I have to go back.
Hang on. I can't let that go that easily, Paul. Right, so they wouldn't name it after maybe a scientist who of renown and success, in case at some point somebody said, oh, that scientist was a historic sex offender, and then you have to change the name of the street. Are you serious? Virology Grove, Radiography Road. I mean, what do the residents say? Are they embarrassed when people say, where do you live? Vaccine Drive.
Well, I think people are happy to have good quality housing in the area, but also it's provoked intrigue, it's provoked curiosity about the history of the site, and given there's so little physical evidence of the original hospital left, at least thousands of people now know about this really important social history that might otherwise not. So maybe sometimes having quirky, somewhat provocative names will elicit interest.
Well, they're not
it wasn't
provocative,
what I originally
they're
wanted to name
stupid, Paul.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Dewbs & Co. with me, Michelle Dewberry, till 7, Baroness Jacqueline Foster and Matthew Torbay. Alongside me, Neil says, Michelle, the thing that frustrates me in much of this is the government seems to have failed to understand, he says, that small business owners are also, quote, working people as well. You know, I really hear that often comes through from you guys at home, because this whole definition about we're not going to make working people pay any more tax, I know it is an insult to so many small business owners, entrepreneurs. You guys absolutely struggling. Of course, you've got the new NICS rises as well. Get in touch with your thoughts on all of that. But look, where do you stand when it comes to private schools? Some of you might just be against them on principle. Some of you might have your children in them or have even gone to them yourself. But of course, you'll all know by now that VAT has now been applied to the school fees. It's one of the things, actually, that was in the Labour manifesto. I mean, lots of changes haven't been, but this particular one actually was. Anyway, so a court case has commenced today. Treasury has been taken to court by many different groups of people, school groups, parents, in lots of cases, on a variety of different levels, saying it's essentially discriminatory, it breaches some form of human rights and so on. They're essentially calling for this to be scrapped, this VAT application. Where are you on it, Jacqueline?
Well, that's a Conservative position as well. This, in my view, is just a vindictive, going back to the sort of 70s, you know, sort of, I don't know, anti-private anything. And I just think it's been a huge mistake from the beginning. I have no idea why they wanted to do it. We have a choice in this country whether we want to stay in the state model, whether it's for health or education. So the parents that pay for private education, they haven't opted out of the tax system. They're paying for towards the state schools in any event. So it's like a 70s sort of class war. And funnily enough, we've been discussing this afternoon in the House of Lords. And we had tabled and got through some very good amendments, which were quite cross-party, not necessarily from the Labour Party, that went over to the Commons. They've all been rejected. And I think what people aren't sometimes clear about is people think private schools, Eton, Harrow, and these are very prestigious private schools. But the vast majority of private schools in this country, a lot of them are quite small. A lot of them are sort of chains, which they're charitable schools, and you will get quite a lot of pupils in there who may have special needs, for example, and the parents often scrape to get that fee together. And what we've already now seen is, you know, thousands of these children now are going to... Some of the schools have already closed. They're going to have to try and find other places to go. And all the staff and people that work in these schools, all because of this sort of vindictive little vendetta by Bridget Phillipson, who calls herself an education secretary, notwithstanding this goes against every protocol of the United Nations, where every member of the United Nations is forcefully told that you do not tax education.
Well, that was a bit dramatic towards the end about the United Nations. I think if you look at this in black and white terms, VAT is something levied on goods and services. Private education is a service, I think, in my opinion. These institutions aren't charities. Admittedly, they give bursaries, which I think is a good thing for those that can't afford it. But ultimately, and actually, I think what might have gone better with the public, maybe not, would have been to remove the charitable status rather than the VAT exemption, whereas actually it looks like they might end up doing both. For me, private education, I didn't go to a private school, but I think private education is basically a shortcut in life. And these people are undertaking a choice in doing so. And the reason that Jacqueline quite accurately says lots of people scrape together every penny and pound they've got is because they know it's a shortcut in life. You go to a better school, you make the contacts, looks better on your CV, you get into the better universities and all the rest of it. Yeah. Now, well, you can say no. How many people go on from private school to go and do great things? Now, for people in court to go and say this is a challenge to things like aspiration, my mum and dad were no less aspirant for people like me, just because they couldn't afford to send me to private school. I'm sure they would have loved to have done. And I will admit to probably being a bit of a hypocrite, because I know these schools are very bad for social mobility, because what you essentially get, especially the larger ones, will say, load of poshos in one school, loads of state school in the other, and nobody quite mixes. The faith school thing concerns me, because you need a melting pot of people to understand one another. But for me, I don't think it's popular. That's proven. But these are not charities. These are institutions that make money, and this isn't a good to the world. This is a business model that does very well out.
So you think this is a service and a fast track and all the rest of it? Would you then be in favour of VAT being applied to university fees?
I wouldn't be against it if you're making that, because ultimately this is a choice. You choose whether to go, and actually it might put off people going to uni and we might get more trades out of this country again.
But if I can just come in on that, I mean, I take your point, if you look at a sort of a principle of something like that. But let's not forget, you know, the 1944 Education Act, that was the first time when they built grammar schools for girls. The grammar schools that were already in place were independents and there was a small fee. Sometimes there were bursaries, which we'd had probably for 100 years. I actually benefited by going to state grammar school. I had a sister who went to a little technical college and my other sister went to the secondary modern. So I was one of the first generations, in actual fact, to do that. You know, it was a Labour government then that pushed all of that through. So the only grammar schools really that are left in the country tend to be in areas where they happen to have had Conservative councils at that time that decided then not to abolish the grammar schools. So to me, this is just an extension of that. And that was all about the sort of social class, who grammar schools are elite and all of this sort of stuff. Yet all the people I went to school with on the edge of Liverpool, I mean, half the kids came from St Helens, which was Pilkington's glass factory, and the rest of us were from families like mine, which were blue-collar, where our parents had left school at 14. And of course our parents had an aspiration. So the Labour Party put the kibosh on that. They put the kibosh when they came in on assisted places, which we had in. Some people may remember there were 88,000 children that lost the assisted places, which really benefited from very poor families under the Conservative policy that went on for a number of years. That was abolished, actually, when Tony Blair came in. So, you know, this isn't just a new thing. This has been on the cards because, sadly, and I don't get it, because every member of the Cabinet has been to university. They play this card, oh, well, we didn't go to a private school. Every one of them's been to a university. So I wish they'd stop playing that tune, because the reality is this is just like an extension. This mentality, sadly, Matthew, is still in the heads of so many in the Labour Party. It's either you've got a red jacket on and you're on a horse, so clearly you're posh, or you go to a private school, so clearly... So let's put an end to that. Notwithstanding, you know, the equality of opportunity that we have created and kicked the glass ceilings for the last 30 or 40 years has meant that we get jobs generally on merit. And that's the right way to go.
Can I ask you, what's wrong with state school?
There's nothing wrong with state schools.
Well, that's the thing. You've just had a go at Labour governments for coming in to abolish grammars and everything else.
There are many areas in the country where the state schools work very well. It depends where you live. There's challenges in some of the big cities. We know that for a whole variety of reasons. There are children with special needs that we know find it very challenging to get into the, obviously, into decent state schools. So, you know, at the end of the day, but in any event, we have a freedom of choice. We should be able to choose. None of this is free.
People make their choice based on the
these parents are paying
rises.
into the tax system, and they're paying for the state schools. They're paying for the NHS.
The same way that people will use private health, Jacqueline, rather than going to the NHS.
We live in the UK. We don't live in China and
no,
Russia.
absolutely, and I'm glad.
If we decide to make a decision, we're taking actually a burden off the state schools if you've got thousands of kids in the private sector.
Which is a choice. So if people wish to use private health, I don't mind at all whatsoever.
And they will benefit from the tax of these children who are actually in the private sector.
But I'm still proud to live in a country where we all pay into the same pot to support one another. If you wish to go and send your kids to a different school or go and use private health and see that as a moral crusade and a good thing for the state,
uses the
fantastic.
Excuse me, the NHS is using the private health service every day of the week to have operations done. Yeah. I know I've got friends who are surgeons and they're in the health sector.
Because of the 2012 Health and Social Care Act, which allows, through the coalition government...
These little lefty Labour politicians play this little, oh, isn't it terrible? You know, people are... It's nonsense.
No, I've not... Listen, I've not done that, but what I'm saying is the idea about the private health as well, that's because the coalition government...
With private? Why shouldn't people have private health?
I would like to explain it if I get a moment. There's nothing wrong with private health.
Topic about private health. I mean, you just said then you're proud to live in a country where everyone contributes to the same pot to support children. Don't forget that any parent that sends their child to a private school, they've already paid into that pot.
My point.
So they've paid into the state pot, and actually they're benefiting the state massively because they're not actually draining that resource and service. They're paying for it and they're saying, do you know what? There's my money, there's my tax. Keep it, spend it on other children, and off I trundle over here. And when you're saying about choice, Matthew, and you're saying, well, your VAT will shape your choice and all that, if you add additional cost onto something, you then in many cases, remove the choice from people. So it doesn't then become something, actually, if you've got X amount of money, it's not then, do I choose this, do I not choose this? It's literally, I cannot stretch myself any further because now this has been taken out of me. And the concern that you raise about elitism and all the rest of it, by doing what we've done with private schools, the only thing that will be achieved is private schools will be much more elite than they ever were. The gap between richer and poorer will become much broader. And if that was the overall ambition, it has gone catastrophically wrong, I would argue. And the amount of money that it will raise, I will believe that when I actually see it, because when you allow schools to charge VAT, you also allow them, of course, to reclaim VAT on things like that. So I'll really have such strong opinions on this. I think it's been driven by jealousy and envy, and you don't pull the bottom up, if we want to call state schools the bottom in that analogy, and I went to a state school, nothing wrong with them, but you don't pull the bottom up by trying to pull the top down. That's not what you do, because then what you do is you just end up messing up both ends of the spectrum.
So I suppose what I'd say, I think it's fair points that you raised. There's no reason why people still can't continue to attend these schools, because
they
if
can't
they
afford it.
But hang on, why are the schools going to pass on the charge? If they're this charitable institution that believes they're putting good people out into the world, they don't need to charge more, surely. That's the choice of the school.
They're not all... I mean, not everyone has the same model. There are some that are charitable institutions. I mean, this is the reason why they've gone to the High Court. But coming back to my main point is, yes, some will pass on less than 20%. A lot of the private schools are sort of not on the breadline as such, but they're not in there to make massive profits. And they're not, and they're sort of chains of quite smaller schools throughout the country. And I read recently there was a couple of them, these chains, that are going to have to, they just can't, they're not going to be able to survive this 20% VAT.
But their children,
increase.
Because of the society we live in...
Because also they've tried to keep their costs down for the parents.
The children will still, because of the society we live in, which I've alluded to, will still get a great state education, I hope.
Of course they will. They'll lose all their friends, they'll leave the class, they'll end up trying to get into some sort of school where they'll probably know anybody at all.
We've all gone to school and done that.
And what about
We've all gone to school. We've all moved places.
What about all of the teachers that work in the private sector and all those administrative staff and all of the people that are part... No, I'm talking about in the private schools too. So they've got no jobs either, so that's OK then. Because it's not just... It's the pupils, but it's the whole
We're going to see 7%, judging by the IFS figures, as well as the money that's going to be brought in, going into the state sector.
There's not going to be any money.
I will believe that when I see it.
Absolutely.
And I do just want to echo that final point, because I know we've discussed this before, and I know lots of you actually do scrimp and save to send your children to private school, and you'll all be shouting, if you're in that bracket, you'll be shouting at your telly, Michelle, I've already paid for my state education for my child. I've paid into that big, massive pot. I can hear you. I can hear you. Look, tomorrow it's apparently so-called Liberation Day when it comes to Donald Trump. What do you think is going to happen then here in the UK when it comes to tariffs? Many people are concerned about that. How should we respond if indeed we are subject to said tariffs? But also something interesting caught my eye. There's been kind of a lot of focus on how much free speech is really actually free in this country. There was one suggestion that free trade should be linked to free speech. What do you think to that? We'll discuss in two.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there. If you're heading further afield over the next few days, it is going to be unsettled across much of the Mediterranean, particularly for Greece, where very lively showers and thunderstorms will continue during Wednesday. Showery for southern Italy, but northern Italy largely fine with some sunshine. South of France into Spain and Portugal. We've got spells of rain moving in along with a gusty wind, and that unsettled weather sticks around for the end of the week, whilst the showers become fewer and less frequent in Greece.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel.
Good evening to you. I'm Johnny Ratner. Long delays in West Yorkshire on the M1. The two inside lanes on that 5-lane stretch are blocked off northbound from junction 41 to 42 towards the M62. There's been an accident just north of Wakefield. On the Essex stretch of the M25, the inside lanes closed anti-clockwise, junction 26 to 25 towards the A10 coming into Hertfordshire, where a lorry has broken down through the Homestead Tunnel, just watching the cameras. And on the M4 in Berkshire, 2 lanes are blocked westbound, junction 12 to 13 towards Newbury, following an accident causing long queues past the scene. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Dewbs & Co with you till 7 o'clock. Alongside me, Baroness Jacqueline Foster and Matthew Torbett. Lots of you getting in touch on that one. I knew it. We've talked about this, you and I, at home before, haven't we? Lots of you indeed getting in touch and making that exact point that I knew you would, which is, Michelle, we've already paid for the school in the public sector from our taxes. Michelle, why would we have to then pay even more? Charlotte says, never mind school bills. I'll tell you what should have VAT on it, and they don't. Vet bills. I don't have a pet. Never paid a vet bill in all my life. Do they not have VAT on pet bills?
Well, funnily enough, I had to take my dog to the vet, Lollipop, the weekend.
Oh, did you?
If they put VAT on those, I won't be able to afford to take the dog to the vet.
Oh, well, there you go.
People will know with pets how much it costs you out of hours, and dogs are never ill during the week. It's always on a Saturday.
Yeah.
David says, Michelle, this is the education system being used as a political football. Indeed, the people, actually, that will struggle on that will be the children, of course. But look, I'll tell you about struggling. People are a little bit worried when it comes to Donald Trump. Of course, tomorrow he's branded as Liberation Day. This is all about whether or not there's going to be tariffs applied, and if so, to what and at what level. There was some hopes, of course, that the UK would be exempt, apparently, because a lot of people here seem to think we've got some kind of special relationship. But anyway, friend or foe, apparently we're all going to be getting tariffs. Listen to his press secretary about half an hour ago.
Looking ahead to tomorrow, April 2nd, 2025, will go down as one of the most important days in modern American history. Our country has been one of the most open economies in the world, and we have the consumer base hands down, the best consumer base. But too many foreign countries have their markets closed to our exports. This is fundamentally unfair. The lack of reciprocity contributes to our large and persistent annual trade deficit that's gutted our industries and hollowed out key workforces. But those days of America, beginning tomorrow, being ripped off are over. President Trump's economic vision is rooted in common sense.
Oh, we need a bit of common sense, don't we? But is this it?
No, I think tariffs are a tool. They're not a strategy. And I think normally they're designed to protect existing industries against unfair trade practices. So if you were leveraging tariffs against China for dumping steel into the US system, then that would sort of make sense. I think what Donald Trump's proposed is a broad-based 20 to 25% across most of the world, which, I mean, there's a theory within the sort of Trump world that it's sort of economic nationalism. And the idea is if you weaken the dollar so much, it will mean everybody will come back to build manufacturing in America. And I don't know whether that will be the case. If you look at Harley-Davidson alone, very well-renowned American company, the price of a Harley-Davidson in somewhere like Denmark will go up from $28,000 to $124,000. And what will happen, which is what happened during the Trump's first term, is Harley-Davidson just moved a load of their manufacturing to Thailand because they went, well, we just can't afford this anymore. People aren't going to buy our stuff. It's costing us even more. A lot of the parts come over the borders 4 or 5 times, and if you're going to put a tariff on it each time it comes across, people are just going to give up. And Trump's own base will end up losing out. I saw on Fox News last night there was a poll that 53% of those think that tariffs will hurt the economy and 28% it'll help. 69% think it'll make things more expensive, and he's got to now worry about things like stagflation, where you have incredibly high inflation and growth that isn't there, basically.
Yeah, I mean, he's acknowledged himself that ultimately things in the short term would be more painful. I don't know if you remember in the election campaign, he said, didn't he, that tariff was his favourite word in the dictionary, and he would argue, if he was sitting here now, that everything that he is doing, he would argue it's for the good of the American people and to make America great again and to put the American people first. Many people would say, I wish our Prime Minister would do something like that. Anyway, what do you make to it all, Jacqueline?
Well, the thing is, we've known for 18 months, if those that followed the campaign for the presidential election, he was quite clear with MAGA, and he was quite clear that he would make sure that American industry started a real revival. And part of that was actually looking at the manufacturing in America again, which, because they have obviously lost a lot, like a lot of us, to third countries around the world. So we shouldn't be at all surprised. Now, the question really is this going to affect the UK? So on the one hand, we hope and we go, well, let's hope, because we've generally tended to have a really special relationship. They're clearly one of our biggest markets that we export to. And you know, if we had prime vehicles like Rolls-Royce and all of that, you know, this is key because we sell really expensive goods over there as well. But then you've got to look and you think, well, are we going to get any special treatment? Now, we might have done if, before the election, the current Prime Minister, the ambassador now to Washington and the Foreign Secretary hadn't started lambasting President Trump, who was possibly likely to win, and calling him things like a fascist and a racist and all of those other things. I mean, how could people at this level in politics, wanting to be Prime Minister in these seriously offices of state, and then think it's wise to start really insulting the person that could actually be head of the free world, you know, in 1 or 2 years' time?
I know, but in that yesterday's news, and in a lot of this just media hype, because at the end of the day, Donald Trump, he says he's got an all-right relationship with Keir Starmer. He thinks he's a good man. He's actually just today signed off on the Chagos deal. So I think sometimes in the media, there's all this kind of hype made about, oh, you shouldn't have said this about Donald Trump. J.D. Vance, some of the stuff that he used to say in the past about Donald Trump.
Well, that's between Donald Trump and him. But all as I'm saying is, we knew this was coming. We knew that he was probably likely to put tariffs on. So if you are a politician of a certain amount of experience, which these people are certainly in the big offices that we have now in government, from the Labour Party, you'd have thought they might have been a little bit more circumspect. Now, of course, you know, you can transcend all of this, and of course they have tea, and of course we will have a good relationship with the United States. All I'm saying is it clearly wouldn't have helped, because President Trump doesn't owe us anything, frankly. And what I'm hoping is that we can get past this and we can try and make sure, if they use their, I don't know, wit, so if there's any there at all in the cabinet, to try and ease or facilitate, I suppose, not or a reduction at least of having tariffs put on the goods that we actually sell to America. This is a really serious issue. It's a serious issue, and it was avoidable. A lot of it was avoidable.
I remember when he first got elected, and I remember watching some television debate, and people were asking, what does the Trump administration mean for the UK? How will the UK benefit? And I remember shouting at my screen saying, it's not about us. He's literally gotten elected literally on an America First ticket. He's not sitting there going, oh, I'm going to get elected so I can help out my mates in the UK. Absolutely not. He is inward focused, and many people would say, actually, that that's what we could do with in this country. Anyway, you've distracted me massively talking about Harley Davidsons. I once went on a Harley Davidson on Route 66. It was one of the best things I've ever done. Now I'm desperate for 7 o'clock so I can go look at my photographs and remind myself all about that holiday. Anyway, look, you know what? Never mind all of this awful April, because something really made me smile today, ladies and gents. We talk often, don't we, about the breakdown of law and order. But look, after the break, I'm going to show you a police video of some wrong-uns actually getting exactly what they deserved. Credit to the police for this one. I'll see you in 2.
Evening. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. The sunshine continues tomorrow. It will be a little bit chilly overnight, warming up as we go through the day. Again, though, some places having a noticeably cool breeze. Notice quite a few isobars across the UK. High pressure, though, is the dominant feature. That is what is bringing us the sunshine. With the easterly breeze, we could start to see a little bit more low cloud just lapping onto some of these coasts in the east, and particularly inland over the hills. So the Pennines and the Grampians could see some low cloud developing. But for most, it's a clear night, and that will allow temperatures to dip to single figures. Pockets of frost possible in rural areas. Still a noticeable breeze blowing across the south, quite gusty, particularly this evening across the far southwest. But the winds are pretty light across mainland Scotland. Certainly inlands, we could see a hint of frost, just a whiff of blue there on the chart. And there could be some of this hard just sticking to the east coast at times for tomorrow. Could be a bit grey as well across parts of southern Scotland, northern England, again over high ground, but clear to start off with in Northern Ireland, Wales and the bulk of England. Again, though, quite a cool breeze blowing across some southern counties, and more noticeable perhaps across East Anglia into Lincolnshire, this breeze as we go through tomorrow. Light winds could mean this cloud is quite stubborn across parts of the coast of the east of Scotland, but we should again see lots of sunshine over the Highlands. That could be where we see the highest temperatures once more, because inland after that chilly start, temperatures getting into the mid to maybe high teens, perhaps not quite as mild as today. And with that breeze coming from the North Sea, those eastern coasts will be chilly. Bit of a change for Thursday, more cloud in the southwest, even a few showers for Somerset, Devon, Cornwall, perhaps parts of South Wales could catch a shower. Elsewhere though, another sunny one on Thursday. Still a brisk chilly breeze in the east, but elsewhere turning a bit warmer across the heart and southeast of England, where we could see those temperatures getting over 20 Celsius.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello. Hello there, Michelle Dewberry, Baroness Jacqueline Foster and Matthew Torbett alongside you. Special request in the break there from Jacqueline. She's asked us to give a shout out to Brian, the black cab driver. Apparently he loves the programme and is listening now. Hello, Brian. Thank you very much. And if you're sitting there at home, don't forget that you too can listen to the programme on your radio. What a treat for you. Look, I like good things on this programme. It can't all be doom and gloom, can it? We talk about the breakdown of law and order. Take a look at this video that was shared by the Metropolitan Police today.
Yeah, be on till. Go on till.
So if you're listening to this on the radio, so two guys went into like a local shop. They had, you name it, the balaclavas on, rubber gloves, you name it, deciding to rob this local shop. Apparently this shop had been targeted, as had many others. So the police were having absolutely none of it. So they laid in wait. They caught these guys, grabbed hold of them, and they've been sent now to 12 months in prison. I think that's absolutely fabulous. It's those kind of videos that need to be going viral on social media. Not all these daft videos that you see of people just walking into shops and doing whatever they want. I don't think, Matthew, that the police, frontline police, often get enough credit when they do things well and properly. Too many people quick to attack them. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, and sometimes it's, you know, the police don't help themselves. However, we have to remember these are the people that run towards the danger rather than away from it, where many of us do. And shoplifting itself, as we know and as we read, is massively on the increase. Usdaw, the trade union that represents shop workers, did a survey last year. 77% of shop workers had experienced verbal abuse and 53% were threatened by a customer. Total breakdown of law and order over the last sort of 20 years in this country. And people don't fear the police anymore. They don't fear discipline. They don't fear, you know, the law, essentially. So hopefully more videos like this will put people off. But no, fair play to the police. Good on them.
Absolutely brilliant. And often, you know, when people start talking about shoplifting, they go, oh, you've got a cost of living crisis. Give me an absolute break. Jacqueline, your thoughts?
Well, about time too, Metropolitan Police. And because I am a great supporter of the frontline police, the rank and file, and I just think that from the leadership they've had the wrong direction, they focus on the wrong things too often. You know, the cost to the small shopkeepers and the retail industry runs into billions. Notwithstanding the pressure on the poor employees or the people that are trying to run their little businesses. And they've actually got away with murder, these people, now for far too long. So I want to see more of this too, and I think so do the public. And we do praise our police and we do think a lot of them. And so, yeah, let's have more of this then.
12 months, though, what do you think to that? Because I bet my bottom dollar, they'll be out in about, what, I don't know, 6 or something like that. Is that really...
About 4.
Is that really a strong enough deterrent, do you think? Because I know you might look at it on the one hand and think, oh, well, it's only this or it's only that. These people, these shopkeepers, especially when it's like a small independent shop, they work all the hours that God sends. And we've just been discussing prices of absolutely everything going up. These entrepreneurs, these grafters, they're getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed, and people go, oh, well, they've got insurance. Yeah, they've got insurance, but your insurance then goes up monumentally every single time you need to be making a claim on it. Look, a huge row's broken out in my inbox. One of my viewers got in touch and said about VAT on vet bills. So many of you have got in touch telling me that you do pay VAT on pet bills, and apparently that viewer was wrong. I'm staying out of this. I've never paid a VAT a vet bill in all my life. I do not have a pet, so unfortunately you're all going to have to fight that one out among yourself. There's not a lot of sympathy for your views on VAT on schools. I have to tell you that one. There is a lot of support coming through for grammar schools. Lots of you actually saying we should have a return to that. Sharon says Donald Trump is playing the world. Give him a little bit, pay your own way, and he will ease off you all. Andy says boycott US goods and take them all off the shelves. They'll soon learn. Really? You can go first, boycotting US goods, because I can tell you now there's a lot of them that many of us actually do enjoy. The EU will have tariffs, says Sandra, and that's why we should have been out of it. Well, we'll see how that plays out. But anyway, look, that's all I've got time for. Thanks, panel. Thanks to you at home. Have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow. Night.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Evening. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. The sunshine continues tomorrow. It will be a little bit chilly overnight, warming up as we go through the day. Again, though, some places having a noticeably cool breeze. Notice quite a few isobars across the UK. High pressure, though, is the dominant feature. That is what is bringing us the sunshine. With the easterly breeze, we could start to see a little bit more low cloud just lapping onto some of these coasts in the east, and particularly inland over the hills. So the Pennines and the Grampians could see some low cloud developing, but for most it's a clear night, and that will allow temperatures to dip to single figures. Pockets of frost possible in rural areas. Still a noticeable breeze blowing across the south, quite gusty, particularly this evening across the far southwest. But the winds are pretty light across mainland Scotland. Certainly inlands we could see a hint of frost, just a whiff of blue there on the chart, and there could be some of this hard just sticking to the east coast at times for tomorrow. Could be a bit grey as well across parts of southern Scotland, northern England, again over high ground, but clear to start off with in Northern Ireland, Wales and the bulk of England. Again, though, quite a cool breeze blowing across some southern counties, and more noticeable perhaps across East Anglia into Lincolnshire, this breeze as we go through tomorrow. Light winds could mean this cloud is quite stubborn across parts of the coast of the east of Scotland, but we should again see lots of sunshine over the Highlands. That could be where we see the highest temperatures once more, because inland after that chilly start, temperatures getting into the mid to maybe high teens, perhaps not quite as mild as today. And with that breeze coming from the North Sea, those eastern coasts will be chilly. Bit of a change for Thursday, more cloud in the southwest, even a few showers for Somerset, Devon, Cornwall, perhaps parts of South Wales could catch a shower. Elsewhere though, another sunny one on Thursday. Still a brisk chilly breeze in the east, but elsewhere turning a bit warmer across the heart and southeast of England, where we could see those temperatures getting over 20 Celsius.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News travel.
Good evening, I'm Johnny Ratner. Well, I'm afraid there are long queues on the Essex stretch of the M25. The inside lane remains closed anti-clockwise from junction 26 to 25 as you head out of Essex into Hertfordshire towards the A10. A lorry broke down just before the Homesdale Tunnel. Problems in Berkshire on the M4. The two inside lanes are free of block westbound, junction 12 to 13 towards Newbury. There's been an accident involving multiple vehicles. And in East London, Kingsland High Street at Dalston closed after a fire broke out just outside Dalston Junction, causing long delays. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's the final week to see how you could spruce up your spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not one, but two sought-after designer watches. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close